Back now on the Pulse, looking at all things people, power, and politics, from the D to D.C. and in the hot seat tonight to talk about civility possibly being back in politics. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell in studio with us, and Troy Mayor Ethan Baker, a conservative, a Republican. We thank you both for being with us here today. The debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz had a lot of people talking, including on our poll, not because of fireworks, but because of moments like these.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting, and I'm sorry about that, and I hope that you're doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful.
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man. I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win, but if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it.
It was a fun movie to watch. Was it real life? That's what people were asking, because it seemed so out of, let's face it, character when it comes to the nature of this particular election. Congresswoman Dingell, surprising?
Well, yeah, actually, truthfully, it was surprising. And I don't want to make this sound like it's critical. You didn't know which J.D. Vance would show up. And when I first met J.D. Vance, I really liked him, and you've seen a different side of him the last few months, which, quite frankly, hasn't made me feel good, when he acknowledges that he's lying about immigrants eating dogs and cats. But it was nice to have the country witness that you could be civil, and I think somehow I would not put great hope in this being a pattern of what's going to happen the next few weeks. I think it was an off night, which I wish was an on night, and something that we will see, and we need to see a lot more of.
Is being nice a strategy, a political strategy, to try to get independent voters to like you on both ends, Ethan Baker?
It's not a bad idea. I mean, no, I don't know if it was a strategy. I think definitely this was probably the first time millions of American citizens really had a chance to listen to J.D. Vance and Governor Walz, and so J.D. Vance played it right, and the governor did too. I mean, that definitely, for many people, that was their first impression of those two candidates.
But Kamala Harris is a tough woman, and Donald Trump is a tough guy. And if I'm their bosses, and I'm watching this, and I'm running my campaign one way, and then I suddenly see them saying things like, you know, I really feel for you, and I really enjoyed this debate tonight, it almost feels like I would think Donald Trump would turn around and look at J.D. Vance and say, what were you doing here? But apparently he called and said, I hope you have a nice night with your wife. Who are these people in reality for us to kind of look at?
This is hard for me, because we do respect each other. We meet, and quite frankly, we don't look at each other and say, she's a Democrat, I'm a Republican, or what do we need to do for
You're saying
Michigan?
You and Ethan Baker as a Republican mayor and as a congresswoman.
Yeah. We meet and talk about what do we need to do for Michigan, and what we need to see more of is people working together to say, what do we need to do? I'm an American first. I don't think of myself as blue or red, to be perfectly frank. So that what I'm about to say sounds partisan or political, and I don't mean for it to, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I've known Tim Walz forever. He's just he's a Midwestern nice guy, and that's one of the reasons that she picked him. And quite frankly, he was a nervous debater. You saw that nervousness last night. He was real. And
Congressman, I'm going to get in here a little bit about some of his comments about Tiananmen Square. If that was a Republican who said that they were at Tiananmen Square and then backtracked the answer and then says, you know, I'm a knucklehead, sometimes I just say things because I talk too much. If that was a Republican soundbite, the Dems would be piling up on that guy. Do you think he got a pass?
Well, I think the Republicans are piling up on him and calling him accountable, quite frankly. So
you think that I
don't think he did get a pass. I mean, and the question got asked on a national debate on a stage, and he was nervous in answering the question. So, but I also think that J.D. Vance did come prepared to be the nice guy. He knew he had an image problem. He knew that people have been hearing a lot of these, calling women childless cat lovers is not a good thing, and I do believe he came out last night and wanted, as you say, everybody was seeing him for the first time, and people talk about it. His strategists are saying he was deliberately nice.
I find it fascinating, Ethan, when you look at the vice presidential debate, people say there was one smooth attorney and one regular guy there. J.D. Vance being the smooth attorney. You're an attorney. You know what I'm talking about. You know how to answer back. Yeah. And then people said with Kamala Harris is a smooth talking attorney. She's a prosecutor. Donald Trump is a regular guy. Are American people attuned to that, do you think, when they watch these things, or do they just feel what they feel when they watch?
I don't know. That's a good question. I was talking to somebody today in Troy who was saying, you know, I don't think people are buying J.D. Vance being super nice. Enough of us know that he says all these things. And, you know, I think there's some truth in some of those points. But I also think that, you know, he's also a nice guy sometimes, too. I really believe that. I also believe Donald Trump can be a nice guy, just like Kamala Harris, just like Tim Walz. And I know that's difficult for some people to hear. But from a civility standpoint, we have to talk and remember we're all human beings. And people have good and bad qualities. And let's try to focus on the good sometimes. But I don't know if it's lost on people watching it, or if they're really focused in on, oh, wait a minute, that's the dichotomy between the different candidates. I'm not sure they're necessarily thinking about it as hard as someone like you or me.
And I know we take a close look at it in the media and in politics, but with 30 days left until Americans go to the polls and decide on this election, do you think they thirst and crave for the kind of rapport we saw on television the other night?
I'm going to actually, I think there are some people that really like to stir up hate, fear, and division. And I think there may be outside forces, outside countries that are pouring kerosene on that. But I want to answer, I'm actually going to say something that's going to surprise you. I think all of the candidates should be allowed to be themselves and to be out there and be more ordinary and regular, because they are human beings. And I do think you're correct that I don't agree with Donald Trump, and I know how he can pit people against each other. But right now, this state is totally competitive. It's totally tied. And I do think part of that is because a lot of people see Donald Trump as a regular guy, and I think they should let Kamala Harris be the regular guy. And I think there's...
So let me ask you this then: if we know he's the regular guy and he's a politician,
he's not, by the way. He is a billionaire.
I get it. But he also
didn't know my name.
But he also, you've met him, you've talked to him, you've been in rooms with him. If he ends up becoming the president of the United States, do you think he will be different than the rally Donald Trump that we see and be more of a diplomat?
What I fear, and I'm just going to be really honest about this, is he's going to be the Donald Trump that we saw when he was president 4 years ago. We have a track record now.
But there were moments of civility in that, right?
Look, I'm the one that said, none of the Republicans said it, I'm the one that said Donald Trump's going to win this election at the end. And he was nice to me. I said I would work with him to help save the auto industry. And then he went to a rally in this state and said my husband was looking up from hell and a lot of other things. And Donald Trump has gone after me because he disagrees with the position that I've taken, and I wish he didn't know my name.
Kamala Harris, on the other hand, talks a lot about the threat to democracy and essentially saying that if Donald Trump is elected into office, our entire existence is at jeopardy. Do you think that that's equally hateful in a different way?
I think it can be, and I think it can resonate with people a certain way that is absolutely hateful and can incite something in themselves. And I'll say, I mean, I don't like to get into a lot of the partisan stuff, as you know, but I don't think the world's going to end if Donald Trump gets elected again. I think America is stronger than Donald Trump. I think it's stronger than Debbie Dingell and Ethan Baker and Roop. We're just humans, and he's just a human. So I think some of that's campaign rhetoric, and I think it's very effective. It's helped raise a lot of money. It's helped incite a lot of excitement to get people going.
And incite a lot of hate, though. I think both of these parties, and I'm going to say it, this is my opinion, I think both parties have to be a little more careful about words. Words matter, and words lead to action. And when people follow you religiously, and I use the word not by mistake, religiously, they follow Kamala Harris and Donald Trump to every word they say. That is dangerous, and that needs to change, don't you think, Congresswoman?
Look, I'm very worried about the level of vitriolicness, the anger, the potential violence that we're seeing out there. I do think we need to worry about it. And I really am going to say this. I think there are outside forces that are encouraging this. But, you know, and we got to stand up to hate wherever we see it. We have to, you know, we're seeing a rise of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and signs that are being posted, including kill your rep, not my favorite. But, I mean, we've got to stand up to it. We all, and I think you and I totally agree with this. There's too much hate out there. It's being flamed, and we must stand up to hate whenever and wherever we
have like 10 seconds left. I want to give you a final thought.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. The hate has to stop, and it's up to us to do everything we can to keep that down. And part of that is being civil with each other and encouraging civility and throughout politics.
You're seeing that happen on this set each and every night, and there's a reason that Ethan Baker, the mayor of Troy, a Republican, and Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, a Democrat, are sitting on this set, being able to actually feel differently about things, but still hold court together. And we thank you both for doing that on The Pulse tonight. Up next, a check of a different kind. We're showing you where the races between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump stand, as well as between Slotkin and Rogers. The latest poll numbers with a polling guru, Steve Mitchell.